Multiple tropical systems around Australia, a developing cyclone heading for Western Australia, Kimberley coast, severe thunderstorm risks across the eastern states, heat building inland. That is what we are dealing with this Thursday, the 22nd of January. I've examined the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, analysed the pressure systems and looked at what the forecast models are showing. There's a lot happening across the country right now and some of it needs your attention. Let's start with the big picture. Right now, Australia is surrounded by low pressure. Almost everywhere you look, we've got troughs, monsoon activity and developing systems. The only high pressure we've got is a weak ridge sitting in the Great Australian Bight, bringing some stability to South Australia and Victoria. Everything else is low pressure, and in some areas we're seeing pressure values drop below 1,000 hectopascals. That significant low pressure outside of an actual cyclone. What does that mean for conditions? Two things. For the tropical north, it means wet weather, monsoonal rain, thunderstorms, the build-up in full swing. For the subtropical regions further south, it means heat, warm air rising under those low-pressure systems, temperatures climbing well above average for this time of year. Across Queensland from Brisbane north, conditions have been hot and humid all week. 38 degrees in Brisbane this arvo, sticky and uncomfortable. That warmth extends right through central Queensland. Sydney has been warm as well, hitting 32 degrees, but they're waiting for rain. The catchments need it. Perth has been bone dry for 3 months now. Gardens struggling, dams getting low. Meanwhile, down in Tasmania, Hobart saw -2 degrees this morning. Frost across the northern suburbs. That cold air is already in place down south. The temperature contrast across the country right now is massive, and it's all driven by these pressure patterns. Now, there are 3 main systems we need to discuss. A tropical low out in the Coral Sea, another developing in the Gulf of Carpentaria, and a strengthening system off the West Australian coast that heading for the Kimberley. Let us work through each one. The Coral Sea system first. This tropical low is currently sitting roughly level with Cairns out to the east. I want to be clear about this up front. This is not a threat to Queensland. You don't need to prepare. You don't need to worry. It's not going to become a cyclone. Looking at the satellite imagery, this system is ragged and disorganised. The shower and thunderstorm activity is displaced well to the south of the circulation centre, which tells you immediately that conditions aren't favourable for intensification. The rotation is broad, weak, not impressive at all. Wind observations around the system are barely 30 kilometres per hour. That nowhere near cyclone strength. What going to happen to it? Over the next couple of days, it'll drift westward as a high-pressure ridge builds into the Tasman Sea. That ridge will push the system back towards Queensland, but by the time it gets close, it will be absorbed into the monsoon trough. The monsoon strengthening across northern Australia, and this system will just get wrapped up into that broader pattern. By the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, it'll be nothing more than monsoon moisture, bringing a few showers and thunderstorms to far north Queensland. Wind gusts no more than 55 to 60 kilometres per hour at an absolute maximum. Really not a concern. I know when people hear tropical low in the Coral Sea, alarm bells start ringing. Fair enough. We've all seen what systems from the Coral Sea can do. But this one isn't organising. It's not in the right environment. The Bureau not concerned about it, and neither am I. The more interesting development is in the Gulf of Carpentaria. Multiple forecast models are now showing another low-pressure system developing out there over the next few days. This is supported by the strengthening monsoon trough, which is being enhanced by moisture wrapping in from several directions. If this Gulf low does develop, and it's looking increasingly likely, we're looking at a couple of days of wet weather across far north Queensland from Sunday onwards, persisting through Monday and Tuesday, monsoonal inflow into the system, widespread showers and thunderstorms. Some areas could see significant rainfall totals. This is worth watching, particularly if you are in Cape York, the Gulf country or the far north. Keep an eye on the Bureau updates over the next 48 hours. Now let's talk about Western Australia. This is the system that has my full attention. There is a tropical low off the Kimberley coast that organising, strengthening and heading for landfall. This one a different story entirely. Over the past 24 hours, this system has developed considerably. The satellite imagery this morning shows a much more vertically aligned structure. That means the upper levels and lower levels of the system are stacking on top of each other, which is exactly what you want to see if you are a developing tropical cyclone. There's a defined area of low pressure at the surface, and we're restarting to see a circulation taking shape. Shower and thunderstorm activity is wrapping around the centre, intensifying. The environment ahead of this storm is favourable. Sea surface temperatures are very warm. Wind shear is at healthy levels, about 5 to 10 knots, which actually helps the system rather than hindering it. There is even an upper level trough approaching, which enhances the storm's outflow. Think of it like an upgraded exhaust system on a car. It helps the cyclone get rid of energy more efficiently, which allows it to intensify better than it would under completely calm conditions. Forecast models are showing this system coming into the Kimberley coastline late Friday into early Saturday. Based on the current trajectory and the ensemble guidance, landfall is most likely somewhere between Broome and Derby around lunchtime Saturday, local time. Strength at landfall, likely a Category 1, potentially a Category 2. We're not ruling out Category 3. That S, a severe tropical cyclone. If you were in Broome, Derby or surrounding communities, particularly around Cape Levesque, the Mitchell Plateau and north to Kalumburu, you need to start preparing, not panicking. Preparing. Clean up the garden tomorrow, secure loose items, make sure things are strapped down for wind gusts, potentially reaching 100 to 125 kilometres per hour. Now, here is the important part about impact zones. When this cyclone comes ashore, the northern and northeastern side of the landfall point will cop the worst of it. That S, where the onshore winds will be strongest, with nothing to protect the coastline. The southern and southwestern side will be more sheltered. Based on where the models are clustered, that landfall zone looks to be on the Dampier Peninsula, north of Broome. What that means, Cape Levesque and the Dampier Peninsula are ground zero for wind impacts. Derby is a bit more protected, though still at risk. Broome, unless this system tracks further south than expected, which is unlikely, you're on the protective side of the circulation. Even if this comes through as a severe tropical cyclone, Category 3 strength, Broome is still likely to escape with Category 1 impacts, maybe Category 2 at worst. I don't want you panicking if you are in Broome. Be prepared, yes, but you're not in the worst of it. Derby sits somewhere in between, more protected than the exposed coastline to the north, but closer to the circulation than Broome. Category 1 to Category 2 impacts are likely there. By tonight, Thursday night, we should have definitive answers on how strong this system is going to be at landfall. I'll be monitoring it closely and the Bureau will be issuing warnings as the situation develops. Either way, this cyclone is going to drop significant rainfall and bring strong winds to the Kimberley. If you're in the impact zone, Friday S your day to finalise preparations. After landfall, the system S expected to head south through the Pilbara region, then into the north interior. It'll likely hold tropical cyclone status as it moves inland before weakening to an organised tropical low. The forecast models show it tracking roughly due south through some of the indigenous communities before reaching the Great Central Highway around Warburton and Giles. Rainfall from this system could be significant for the inland areas. North and south interior regions are looking at 40 to 80 millimetres, with some spots potentially seeing up to 120 millimetres early next week. If you are planning on travelling through that area, anywhere from Laverton across to Uluru and the Olgas, check the forecast daily. 120 mils in the interior will cause road damage and flooding. It doesn't take much out there to create problems, and the forecast models are in pretty good agreement on this rainfall. Now let's shift to the eastern states. Severe thunderstorm risks are increasing, particularly through inland Queensland and New South Wales over the coming days. Why? Because we've got low pressure troughs building across the interior, warm humid air feeding in from the north and instability increasing. The surface trough running across Western Queensland and into southwestern Queensland is strengthening. By Friday and Saturday, we're re-looking at the potential for severe thunderstorms through central and western Queensland, possibly extending into northern New South Wales. These storms could produce large hail, damaging winds and heavy rainfall leading to flash flooding. If you are in Roma, Charleville, Longreach or similar inland centres, keep an eye on the Bureau S warnings Friday and Saturday. Storms can develop quickly in this setup. Make sure you re-across the forecast, especially if you've got livestock out or work to do outdoors. The heat S also building across the eastern interior. With those low pressure systems and northerly winds, temperatures are climbing into the mid to high 30s, possibly touching 40 degrees in some inland areas. Combined with the humidity, it's going to feel oppressive. If you are working outside, take it easy during the peak heat of the day. Stay hydrated. Check on mates who might be doing it tough in the heat. For the southeast coast, Sydney S going to see temperatures climb to 36 to 39 degrees this long weekend. Hot conditions, potentially uncomfortable if you're outdoors for Australia Day celebrations on Monday. No significant rain in the forecast for Sydney over the next week. That dry spell continues. Brisbane and the southeast Queensland coast will stay warm and humid, mid-30s most days, with scattered afternoon thunderstorms possible later in the weekend as moisture from that monsoon trough filters down. Nothing severe expected for the coast, but enough to make it sticky and unpleasant. Melbourne-S been the lucky one this week. Temperatures in the mid-20s, reasonable conditions thanks to that high pressure ridge in the Bight. That pleasant weather continues through the weekend before a weak cold front pushes through early next week, bringing a slight cool down and maybe a few showers. Adelaide-S sitting pretty as well. Mid-20s, sunny, stable conditions under that high. URE in the sweet spot right now while the rest of the country either bakes or gets drenched. Tasmania, you are feeling that cold air already. Hobart saw frost this morning, -2 degrees in some northern suburbs. That cold continues through the weekend with overnight minimums around 0 to 2 degrees. Daytime maximums only reaching the mid-teens. If you in the Highlands or Central Plateau, expect snow at higher elevations over the next few days. Not a lot, but enough to dust the peaks. Perth's dry spell continues. 3 months now with minimal rain. The gardens are struggling, and I know the dams are getting low. There's a weak front approaching early next week that might bring a few showers to the southwest, but nothing substantial. The dry pattern holds for Western Australia outside of that tropical activity in the far north. Darwin and the top end, you're in the thick of the build-up, 35 degrees with high humidity. Afternoon thunderstorms are a daily occurrence now, and that continues through the weekend as the monsoon trough strengthens. Some of those storms could be severe, producing heavy rain and strong winds. The wet season is getting into full swing. Let's talk about what this all means practically. If you are in the Kimberley, Western Australia, Friday and Saturday are your preparation days. Secure your property, stock up on essentials before the system arrives. If you're in a caravan or temporary accommodation, relocate to solid shelter. This is a cyclone, and even if it's only category 1 or 2, you need to take it seriously. For those in far North Queensland and the Gulf country, keep monitoring the monsoon development. If that Gulf low forms as expected, you could see significant rainfall Sunday through Tuesday. Make sure drainage around the property is clear. Check that gutters aren't blocked in monsoon conditions. Heavy rain can arrive quickly. Inland Queensland and New South Wales, Friday and Saturday. Watch for severe thunderstorm warnings. If you see storms building, get indoors. Don't to get caught out in the paddock if lightning's around. Secure loose items that could blow away in strong winds. For everyone dealing with the heat across the interior and eastern states, pace yourself. It's going to be hot through the weekend and into next week. Work early mornings and late afternoons if you can. Avoid peak heat between midday and 4 in the arvo. Make sure you're re-drinking water, not just waiting until you are thirsty. Check on elderly neighbours. Look after your pets and livestock. Make sure they've got shade and water. A quick word on fire danger. With the heat building inland and those northerly winds, fire danger ratings are increasing across parts of Queensland and New South Wales. Check the Rural Fire Service warnings for your area. If a total fire ban is declared, that means no fires whatsoever. No campfires, no burn-offs, no angle grinders that could throw sparks. The bush is dry in many areas and it won't take much to start something serious. Now, I want to put all of this in perspective. We've got multiple systems active. Yes, there's a lot happening, but this isn't unprecedented. This is monsoon season in Northern Australia. This is what January looks like when the monsoon is active. We get tropical lows, we get heat in the interior, we get thunderstorms. It is part of the pattern. The Kimberley cyclone deserves respect and preparation, but it is not Cyclone Yassi. It is not a Category 5 monster. Most likely, it is a Category 1 or 2 system hitting a sparsely populated coastline. For those in the impact zone, yes, take it seriously. But for the rest of the country, it is not something to lose sleep over. The Coral Sea system isn't a threat. The Gulf development needs watching, but isn't alarming at this stage. The thunderstorms are typical for this time of year. The heat is uncomfortable but manageable if you are sensible about it. What I'm saying is, be informed, be prepared, but don't panic. You've lived through worse. Many of you remember the big ones. Cyclone Tracy, Christmas 74, 217 kilometre per hour winds. Darwin was destroyed. Or Yassi, 2011, Category 5, crossing near Mission Beach. That was an extreme event. Or the Queensland floods, 2011, Brisbane and Toowoomba underwater. Those were genuine disasters. What we are dealing with now doesn't reach those levels. It's a significant weather, yes. Some areas will see impacts, but it is not catastrophic. Keep it in perspective. For the Kimberley cyclone, I'll have another update this arvo once we see how the system S developed through the day. The Bureau will be issuing warnings and tracking maps as the situation evolves. If you in the impact zone, Friday morning is your last chance to prepare before conditions deteriorate. For the eastern states, thunderstorm risk, Check the Bureau S severe weather warnings Friday and Saturday. They'll have the latest on storm development and which areas are most at risk. For everyone else, keep an eye on the forecast for your area. Conditions are active right now. Things can change quickly when you've got this much low pressure around the country. That's the situation as it stands Thursday morning. Multiple systems, different impacts across different regions. The Kimberley needs to prepare for a cyclone landfall Saturday. Far North Queensland should watch the monsoon development. Eastern states need to be ready for severe thunderstorms and heat. The South S relatively quiet for now. I've given you the data, the forecast models and the practical advice. What you do with it is up to you. Be smart, be prepared. Don't panic. And if you are in an impact zone, don't wait until the last minute to get ready.